we're presenting today on the Compass Alliance, and here for you, I'm Kelly Ostrom. I'm from Team FRC 125, and Caitlin and Tati are also going to be presenting on the second half of the presentation on Here for You. So starting off, the overview of what we're going to be talking about today is initially what is the Compass Alliance, how can the Compass Alliance help you as teams, how can you get involved in the Compass Alliance, what is Here for You, and how you can get involved in Here for You as well. So to start off, what is the Compass Alliance? The Compass Alliance was founded in 2017 by FRC Team 3132 Thunder Down Under from Australia. They started the Compass Alliance with 9 other teams from around the world, to a total of there are 10 founding teams of the Compass Alliance. This idea was to create a consortium of teams that would work together to create a sustainable first ecosystem to help teams remain sustainable over the years through transitions between different mentors, different students, everything like that. So the initial idea that we had behind this was this idea that there was a one-stop shop for all things that had to do with FIRST Robotics. So that included things like resources, where you could ask questions if you had concerns, where you would be able to find examples of things that other teams have done in the past. In the past year, since the Compass Alliance first launched, we've had over 30 teams join on as Alliance partners, and we've had other new teams join on as like core members of the Compass Alliance as well. So what can help, what can the Compass Alliance do to help other teams? We have 4 main programs, which are called Help Hubs, Tag Teams, Call Center, and then the Resource Repository. So Help Hubs is the first thing I'm going to be talking about. The idea behind Help Hubs is there's these hubs around the globe that are allow local teams to be able to connect with facilities or resources that they need in their area, in-person support. So these things can include like access to machine shops, workspaces, practice fields, if you need help writing awards or practice giving awards presentations and getting feedback for that. If you want to 3D print something, but you don't necessarily have access to the 3D printer you want, things like that. So we've had teams sign up to become Help Hubs, and they let us know what kind of services they can offer to other teams. And then teams can then go to those Help Hubs when they're looking for a specific kind of help. So the overall idea is that this is aimed at trying to connect local teams with one another and try and get that grassroots aspect of FIRST going. Right now, we have Help Hubs that are available in a multitude of different countries. We have a bunch here in the United States. We also have some in Canada, Mexico, Australia, Europe, everywhere. So we're growing that right now. I believe right now we have around, around 30 Help Hubs in total, but that's continued to grow as the Compass Alliance and its partners get larger. So the second aspect, or second thing that the Compass Alliance offers is what are called tag teams. So this, opposed to Help Hubs, which is very much based on in-person support, tag teams puts an emphasis on remote support as well. So essentially, if you're a team that is in need with assistance for a project, or there's a specific thing that you're struggling with during build season, during off season, you can connect with what is called a tag team guide. This guide will then help its partnered team through whatever difficulty they're dealing with, whether it's they're trying to submit for chairmans and they really cannot get their essay worked out, or if it's something like they're having trouble trying to design something and they really just need help teaching their students how to do CAD or something like that. These remote guides will then be able to guide their team, their help team, to whatever they need. So the idea behind this kind of came from like a big brother, big sister kind of program, where you have a more veteran team mentoring and guiding a younger team. And so, like I said before, there's a range of guidance that's available, from technical support, administrative, fundraising, game analysis, things like that. All of the teams last year that applied to be given a guide received a guide. So we had actually more people sign up to be guides, and we had teams that needed guides. So there's definitely a wealth of opportunity there for teams that need it. The third aspect of the Compass Alliance is the call center. This was previously known as First Help Now and has been rebranded to the call center. It's a 24-hour chat service that's available during the FRC build season from January through the end of competition. And pretty much this call center, the idea behind it is sometimes when you're working on something, you have a question, maybe it's a question about motor motors or a question about tolerances or how to use a specific machine or something like that. The call center basically allows you to go online and chat with a representative in person at any point in time. So because the call center is staffed by people from around the world, it's available 24/7, any hour of the day, any hour of the night. So a lot of times people also pose questions on things like Chief Delphi and other forums like that. But the call center is a very like immediate access to any help or advice that you might need about a project. It's not necessarily the sustaining help that tag teams offer. The tag teams allow remote help through constantly over a course of like multiple days or even multiple weeks. For the call center is based around just like, I have an immediate question, I need an immediate answer. So this service is accessible on the Compass Alliance website. There's a live chat window on the website where you can just go onto the website, connect with someone, and they'll be able to assist you. In addition to that, the call center is able to support multiple languages. So right now we have individuals, it's not 24 hours for every language, but there's certain points depending on your time zone in which English is offered 24/7. We also have support for Hebrew, Spanish, and Chinese Mandarin, depending on like certain hours of the day. The fourth aspect of the Compass Alliance that's accessible on the website is what's called the resource repository. And the idea behind the resource repository is that it's this living repository of resources that people can access. And it's based around the idea of team growth and team sustainability. So all of the resources are broken down into two main categories, which is build a robot and grow a team, I think. And so within that, there's a multitude of subcategories of resources. So some of the technical things include things like strategy, pneumatics, programming, electrical, both mechanical fabrication and mechanical design. There's a section on safety, things like that. And then within that, there contains many resources depending on which section you go to. We have many resources on things like strategy, programming, and fabrication. We have less resources on things like safety and stuff like that. And then in the run a team section, we have more of the like soft non-technical skills. So we have resources for things like how to do public relations, how to maintain a website. Also resources for fundraising and how you submit for awards, leadership and sustainability, many more. We have a section specifically for outreach, things like that. So the idea behind this is that the resource repository is always expanding and looking for new resources. So we've had teams, even in the past year, we've had many teams submit resources to be added to the resource repository. So it really has a wealth of information for both beginners and advanced teams. So it has the beginning information that you need. If you really have no idea how to like program a robot, you can start here. But it also has like advanced topics like motion profiling and things like that if you want that information. So what this accumulates to is the idea of a pathway. So the Compass Alliance started to create these documents that are called a pathway that are designed to guide teams through the key parts of being a successful team. And so similar to the resources repository, it's broken down into other categories. But the idea behind it is it combines the like necessary and like important resources into basically a like learning guide for how to do something. So it starts at like the very basic step and will walk you through all the way to like more advanced aspects of something if that's what you want. So this is ideal for like rookies or experienced teams if they're struggling with the idea of fundraising. Like, how do I go out and find a sponsor for our team? How do I submit a grant application? Things like that. But some of the pathways, also all of the pathways contain aspects that would also allow veteran teams to like further their ability in that category as well. So in addition to also combining resources, it really taps into the experiences of a lot of successful teams and uses examples of other successful teams in the FRC community. So this is what a pathway would look like. So it starts off with a brief description of what that pathway will cover, and then gets in on level 1 about which we call the stepping stones, which goes over the like background of whatever you're looking into and any resources that pertain to that. This one specifically is on scholarships. So it first talks about things like why would you want to apply? Where can you find scholarships? What should you submit? Things like that before going into how you write a successful scholarship application. So all of our pathways are embedded into the Compass Alliance website, so you can view them all there. This is actually a screenshot from the website. But as you can see, there's also a download button, so you can download all of the pathways as PDFs as well. They're also accessible on the mobile site as well. You don't necessarily need to just view them on a desktop or a laptop. Right now, there's a total of 16 pathways, but we have more in development. Those 16 have been pushed out in the past 8 months. And so we're looking to put even more pathways out before the start of build season. Like I mentioned before, the pathways contain resources. All of the resources are linked directly in the pathway, so you can see a resource and then immediately see what that resource actually is. But in addition to that, all of the resources that are in the pathways are also available on the website. And yeah, we update the pathways periodically as information continues to change. If you saw the blog post that came out recently about awards, those changes will be factored into our awards pathway, which will then be subsequently modified to reflect changes that happen within the FIRST or the FRC community. So after going over what the Compass Alliance can offer to teams, we want to talk a little bit about what teams can offer to the Compass Alliance. So we've recently, like I mentioned before, we've had a numerous amount of teams join on to the Compass Alliance as what we call alliance partners. So alliance partners is pretty much any team that contributes to the Compass Alliance in some way, whether this is submitting resources to the resource repository, becoming a tag team guide, helping man the call center, things like that. We are always looking for more people to step in and help us out. The more things like the more help hubs we can get to assist local teams means that there's less teams that are, up a creek without a paddle in terms of like practicing with their robot in a practice field before competition. Like I said before, all of the teams that applied to have a tag team guide were assigned a tag team guide, but we don't know how many teams are going to want a tag team guide next year. So we're looking for more teams to sign on to help those struggling teams. In addition, as we continue to develop our pathways, we're looking for new resources to add to those pathways and also just to add to our resource repository in general. So the Compass Alliance is really this like great group of multinational teams, and we've brought on a lot of new members into the core aspects of the Compass Alliance. So we're interested in being part of that as well. We are really looking for committed teams to help out there as well. So it's fairly easy to connect with the Compass Alliance. Our website is thecompassalliance.org. We have both a Facebook page and an Instagram page where we post updates, things like if we have new resources that we want to highlight, new pathways that come out. We highlight changes that take place in the FIRST and FRC community there. You can ask us questions there. We can direct you to whatever you need. That is a screenshot of the website as well. We're currently working on trying to get the website translated into multiple languages as well. Currently it's in English, and we have some things that are also done in Spanish, but we're trying to get it translated into Hebrew as well. So the website is really the focal point of the Compass Alliance. Everything you need is there. If you need help, if you need help, or if you want to give help, that's a place to look. If you want more information about the history of the Compass Alliance, things like that, that's all listed there as well, along with the contact information for all of the teams that are involved in the Compass Alliance. Are there any questions about the Compass Alliance before I move on to Here For You? Sorry, yeah, that was a little rushed. So let's go back to help hubs. So, for example, 125. Do you want me to go back further, or? No. Okay. So, for example, 125. We're a team that has access to one of the things we're really good at is awards and award submissions, specifically like things like chairmans and stuff like that. But in addition to that, we're also really strong when it comes to 3D printing. But one thing we don't have a lot of is like practice. We don't have a practice field currently. So that's not a space that we're able to offer, but we're able to offer assistance as like a local help hub in other ways. So even this year at competition, we were able to like 3D print parts for other teams, things like that they needed. But a team, for example, Team 1678, they have a practice field. That's something that they can offer to teams in addition to having like an extensive machine shop, but they don't necessarily have the same like other capabilities in terms of like awards assistance. So when they signed up to be a help hub, they jumped on in the aspects of they opened up their space, their machine shop and their practice field to teams that need it as well. And there's been teams from the local like California area that have come to their shop to practice on their practice field and also to like use their workspace when they need it. The benefits to this is that you don't necessarily have to like travel very far to try and find the goal is that teams don't have to travel very far to try and find those in-person resources that they need. 3132 is like the help hub for Australia. So pretty much that was just them taking on a role that they had before, but they hadn't necessarily given a title to. They help out pretty much every team in Australia. They have a program, what is it called? Robots in the Outback, in which they go out and they help the teams that are like, across Australia who the new and rookie teams that are struggling and need assistance. So they provide that remote help there. So we're trying to like kind of expand that to teams elsewhere in the world. But the real emphasis is that like this is like in-person assistance, hands-on helping that you don't have to wait until competition to get. That's help that you can get during build season versus things that are like the tag teams, which isn't in-person help, but that's remote help. So we had, I believe there's a team this year in Minnesota that signed on to be a tag team. 503 was a tag team. Frog Force, they're from Minnesota, right? Or are they from Michigan? They're from Michigan. And then they were helping a team in Minnesota, I believe, that was struggling to design one of their parts. They just couldn't get it to work. So Frog Force stepped up to help them out work through that. But the idea behind this is that it's able to provide assistance in pretty much anything that you need. Yeah, do you have a question?
So if I went to the Compass Alliance and I looked for help out, would it say where they're located and what their skill set is?
Yes. So if you go to the Compass Alliance, so this map is interactive. You can zoom in on this map to each one. It lists what they offer. In addition to that, there's a table on the website as well on the Help Hubs page that lists the team, the city they're in, the state, country, and then in addition to that, it has everything that they offer, and then it also has contact information for them as well. So, yeah. So. This is the website. So if you go to Get Help and then Help Hubs, this is the map right here. And then if you scroll down, this table will say like, oh, look, us, 125, Boston. We have a machine shop. We do not have a practice field. We can help with awards. And then this is our email. So we have many, many teams on here. So we have teams from Israel, Australia, Mexico, United States. And then it says like what they can offer support with.
What are the general dimensions of a practice field?
I would just say like any large practice space that you have. Oh, for this, I think we said a half field. So a half
football field? Or
no, a half FRC field. Half of an FRC field, which I believe is 25 by 30 feet.
Okay.
For a practice space. So that would be the practice. What we defined as a practice field was basically half of an FRC playing field that's carpeted.
Okay.
A lot of teams don't have necessarily like full-on practice fields, but they'll have like 3/4 of a practice field or like 7/8 of a practice field or something. So excellent question. So if you go to Give Help, we talk about some of the ways that you can help, and then there's a sign up form that basically gives us your main contact information, as well as what you're interested in helping with, whether that be the call center, help hubs, tag team guide, whatever. You just put it down here and it'll walk you through giving us the necessary information we need to add you to whatever you want to be added to.
And coming from 542, do you know that whether they're already on it or we have to automatically have to explicitly?
You have to explicitly join. So the teams that are on here that we consider to be alliance partners are teams that we have worked with in the past to like contribute. We're adding new teams all the time as alliance partners, but you have to reach out to us to join as an alliance partner. Yes.
On the tag teams part of it,
Mhm.
how do you know if our team has applied for it? Is there a list of who can connect?
Yeah, so if you go to Get Help and Tag Teams at the bottom, there's a form that basically says sign up to find your guide. So you basically let us know what you need assistance with, and then based on that, we have a massive spreadsheet of people who have signed up to be guides, and we basically say we have a team that needs help with programming, we have a team that can give help with programming, and we put their main contact people in contact with one another, and then we have a core team. Our core team of TCA teams, there's one team that's specifically in charge of managing all of the tag teams, and they will check in periodically with the guides and the team that is receiving help to make sure that they're both getting out of it what they expect. And then at the end of the year, we did a survey with all the teams that received help and all the teams that gave help to just kind of get feedback as to how to improve both help hubs and tag teams. And then just while we're here, these are all the pathways that we have right now. So we have one on like a rookie start guide that's basically designed to help a rookie team through its first season, everything they need to know about being an FRC team. We have awards, fundraising, sponsorship, grants, scholarships, outreach, leadership, and sustainability. We have things like scouting, strategy, and competition preparation. So this goes over things like what is the difference between a district event and a regional event? How would you prepare for championships? Things like that. Electrical systems and components. So this is pretty much everything from building your own sensors to how do I plug in a battery. Safety, programming, which goes over the very basic introduction all the way up to things like vision processing and motion control. Pneumatic systems, mechanical design, and then computer mechanical. Both mechanical design as like the process of how you design something versus CAD specifically, which is once you have an idea, how do you put that into software and make it into something that's tangible. So we're still looking to put out guides on mechanical fabrication, things like 3D printing, more information about competition, things like that. No, it's just a group of teams. We're working to partner with First right now, but it's not formal yet. It's in the process. So, So the founding teams are these 10 teams here. Since then, we've added more teams to the Compass Alliance. The Rembrandts from the Netherlands have joined us. And then the Alliance Partners also lists teams that are currently on here as Alliance Partners. 254's Alliance Partner, Flaming Chicken, Saber Bites, and then it lists what they help with, whether they're a guide, staff, the call center, or what. And then at the end, these are all the teams that have contributed to the resource repository so far. So. Mm-hmm.
How do you help? Who helped out to develop this whole website?
I designed the website.
Oh, you designed
Yeah,
the website?
I designed the website. Yeah.
And then how do you? I know that you have an active map and all those. You design all.
Yeah. So the active map and the things like the PDFs for the so if you go to pathways and then you go to a specific pathway, All the pathways are then embedded into the website as well. So I embedded them, and then we did if you do Google Maps, you can make like a custom Google map with like custom pointers. So then we just embedded that into the website as well.
So I know that it's not really robotic questions, but we also working to like some kind of website. But
Yeah.
Our kid doesn't have all those knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Is this tool also be able to help us out on those? Because we want to develop a website.
Absolutely.
But the kids are more into the robotic. We have no background on all this website design.
So if you go to find a resource, I guess it's technically under Build a Robot, but the programming section, there are resources for how to design a website under the programming resources. So, okay, that's it for Compass Alliance so far. I'm going to let Tassie and Caitlin present on Here For You, which is another aspect of the Compass Alliance that's offered, but it's very different.
Okay. So before we present, I'm just going to introduce ourselves real quick. I'm a junior on the Neutrons and one of the lead students working on Here For You.
I'm Tatiana. I'm also a junior, and I am one of the lead students for Here For You, and I mostly work on the non-technical side.
Yeah. So right now we're just going to tell you what Here For You is, goals in the future, and like how you guys can help out with it. So Here For You was established when we saw a need in the first community. There wasn't really a conversation about mental health from mentors to students or students to mentors. So Here For You is a collaborative platform that aims to help provide students, mentors, and volunteers not only a safe place, but also help them start a conversation in their own teams and community around them. And one of our main goals is like trying to help end the stigma around mental health in the first community in general.
Being a first student, whether it's you're on the drive team or you're in the pits, presenting chairmans, or even just being in the stands, like competitions can be very hectic and overwhelming on top of balancing schoolwork and other like things, whether it be family or something like that. It could just be overwhelming, and like these students tend to struggle with mental health and don't know where or how to find help. And like us, like we are trying to help that and try to end the stigma there is around mental health, and kind of make it be more important. No, not more important, but be on the same level as physical safety practices, and just kind of make it well known.
So one of our main things for Here For You, they're called quiet rooms, and it's been like we've done these quiet rooms in like Australia and mostly in the New England area. So basically, quiet rooms are at competitions, and it's, as it says in the name, it's a quiet room where students, mentors, or volunteers even can go in it and like de-stress kind of. And there's also like different materials like stress balls, like coloring sheets, self-care pamphlets, and like other things that may be helpful towards people, but it's really just a safe place at competitions when it gets too hectic, and like people can just go there to kind of like de-stress and everything. But something to point out, the Here For You, like the quiet rooms, they aren't for people seeking professional help with mental health. They're more of just a safe place at a competition to go and relax and de-stress.
If you would like to get involved or kind of learn more, some of the online resources is the Compass Alliance website. We also have a Pinterest page and like a Google Drive that includes all the Here For You resources. At competitions, if you would like to learn more or kind of want to be involved, we have the quiet rooms. We also give out handouts, like just de-stressor handouts and how to start conversation handouts. And also we give out break activities and resources. And
These are basically like all the websites and
The
social
contact
medias, yeah, that you can find how to join in and help or start a conversation about it. So we have the Compass Alliance. There's a page on Here For You in there, and we also have a Facebook, Instagram, and our email is right there. You want to add anything?
Sure. So I'm Christine. I'm one of the mentors on 125 and lucky enough to work with students that come up with these types of things. So one of the biggest things that these students saw a need for was just figuring out how we can develop different ways to make more mentors familiar with how to at least have conversations and kind of check in on their students. So I graduated high school in around 2007, and I was a part of a first team, and I know that it was a really like chaotic kind of experience, but it was a really beneficial one. First is a great controlled learning environment for students, and when we talk about developing different skill sets in a controlled environment, so whether it's like CAD or programming or public speaking, what we're aiming to do is make sure that people are developing self-care best practices like in a controlled environment as students. And it's a way for mentors to also learn too. A lot of people, whether they're students, volunteers, or adults, struggle with anxiety, whether it's generalized anxiety, social anxiety, and they also struggle with a lot of other things that may not be noticeable. So for us, we're lucky that a lot of our mentors are younger, so we are able to kind of relate and connect and identify with our students and their needs. But I know on my high school team, all of my mentors were much older. They weren't familiar or able to even have conversations about, how is your stress level, or, are you feeling overwhelmed? Like, we have very high expectations for our students because we want them to succeed and do well, but there is a huge need for just giving them the skills and the support that they need in order to manage their time and like their emotions, I guess, and figure out how to best kind of pace themselves, whether it's at a competition, at home, or balancing everything else. There's unfortunately been a lot of suicides recently with students in the FRC community, and there is, several layers to why we're seeing a lot of that, and just a lot of just anxiety, stress, and depression within our own students. It's not just the stress from their team and school. There are a lot of social media platforms where people are really, judgmental, and that's kind of the added layer that we as mentors oftentimes don't see until, there's a huge issue or it's too late. So we're hoping that Here For You can be a place where people kind of come together from the community and learn from each other in addition to the quiet rooms. This past season, like the girls were saying, we were able to host a lot of quiet rooms in New England. There's one at district championships. There was one at the North Shore district event, Southeast Mass, the Greater Boston district, and a few other places. And it was a great place for not only students to go and just, put their heads down if they needed to, or like use a coloring sheet, but it was also a place for students that have special needs, that may have sensory issues or other, specific needs, that were able to find a safe, controlled place where they could go. So we're excited to implement more of these this year. On the Facebook page, we were able to connect with people around the world. We connected with a volunteer from the Mid-Atlantic district who gave a lot of the Here For You handouts at competitions. We found some great resources from Australia, actually, that were just little picture doodles on how to start a conversation to check in on somebody. And it sounds silly, but it's something that, as adults, and even me as a young adult, like I'm not always sure how to check in on a student without making them feel uncomfortable or making them feel like I'm kind of like, I don't know, trying to pry something out of them. So this is really just an effort to, like Tatiana was saying, develop self-wellness practices that are just as common and accessible as like safety practices, like don't stick your finger in the bandsaw, or remember your safety glasses. Something as simple as remember to drink water and eat. You'd be surprised at how many students just go the entire day at a competition, and adults, without eating or taking care of themselves. So aside from like, the mental wellness, it really is the self-care aspect of like, you need to make sure that you get what you need in addition to what your team needs. And that's something that I know for adults and engineers, it's oftentimes hard to focus on that aspect of their team, because the robot is that, the baby of the team that you've invested so much time and money and energy into. But at the end of the day, the students are the real product that we're trying to get out of this. So making sure that they have the skills and the support that they need, whether it's technical or non-technical or emotional, we're trying to get it to that level of just equal importance. So does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
So I'm assuming this is all based on self-help, not necessarily in-person. That's not really.
No, but I think through this, we'll be able to kind of get some of those issues to either come to light or settle down, I guess. I do understand, like, there are definitely times where mentors are not necessarily focused on students. And we can't obviously, like, force this onto anybody, but I think if it becomes kind of an important thing to most people on a team, it will kind of spread to people who may not necessarily care about it. And that was a conversation we actually had this morning. It's like, our job isn't to convince people that this is important, because there are people out there that need to know that we think it's important. And I think they had said it at the beginning of this presentation, but it's really trying to develop a culture of just acceptance and not being something that's uncomfortable to talk about or people feel ashamed about talking about. Like, I know just even outside of the FIRST community, it is something that has a really heavy stigma to it. So by making, more of a community around this, we're hoping to kind of end the stigma around it, because I'm sure you've all seen it. And if you haven't, you will see it at some point. FIRST is a wonderful community, but there are a lot of opinions, and usually people will sway towards the opinion of the loudest people. So we're hoping to at least get people on board with this being something that's important to either recognize or care about, if that's something people are capable of.
Really precious. I don't know what is precious. I like the idea, and I think it's good to on the website. Also notice that on the field page before you say that you're going to find room for a competition.